Okay. What if ranked was like ALGS, Apex Legends, from Wheaties 251? So I saw this pop up in my YouTube feed, and I was like, okay, I relatively like watching Apex sometimes, and I mean, because I used to play it, and I was like, oh, this seems interesting. Let's see what this dude's got to say. So let's see.
In Season 20, Respawn decided to return Ranked to the RP system used from Seasons 13 through 16. Season 17 saw the introduction of provisional matches for initial placement, a
Okay.
flat entry cost across all ranked tiers, a larger emphasis on placement, to the point where kills were almost irrelevant, and a heavier emphasis on skill-based matchmaking, meaning that if you were as good as a Pred player, you'd be placed in Pred lobbies, even if you're
Oh,
gold too. Besides the disaster
if you're as good as a Pred player, I would like to see if Respawn could define that, because we are using their matchmaking system, and I would just be so curious. Whenever I played like ranked Apex, when I first picked up Apex, I sucked ass at it. My aim was like Garbo. Um, it was only because of Apex that I found like aim training and like all these other like secondary resources to try to like get better aim or whatever. I mean, because I mean I can at least face facts and be like, okay, because like when I first, what do you call it? When I first found Apex, I was like what, 30 something, 32, 33, or 31. I don't know. So I'm already past the prime. But a couple thousand hours later, and it's like, oh, I can still get better. At the end of the day, I'm still like a casual. Um, when did I first start Apex? I think I started in season like 4, I think. But I didn't, when I first started doing ranked, it'd be like the first season I would try to get out of bronze and then into silver. And then, by the time the season was done, it would be like, okay, I ended the season in gold. I ended the season in plat. Ooh, that was a fun one. I was like, oh, plat. That's pretty good. And then the struggle for me, because I solo queued, was like actually getting to diamond and trying to push it to like diamond 2. Um, and I did get like up to diamond, like solo queued to diamond or whatever in like the earlier seasons. But god dang, dude, this was at a time where like I never really grinded like a ranked game, a ranked FPS game at all, because I was just so like disinterested in it, and I didn't have any like friends that wanted to do it or anything like that. But I don't know. I just thought it was fun to take it like kind of semi seriously, and I did have a lot of fun playing it. But anyway, let's just keep going.
of Season 17, which led to over 30% of the ranked population reaching Masters,
Oh
the
yeah,
changes were
yeah, I saw that season. Whatever he just said, like what was the one season where like what did he say? A third, every 1 out of 3 players was a master player. That's hilarious to me. Masters is like like the highest rank outside of the top 750, which are Apex Predators.
highly unpopular and led to a substantial decrease in the overall population of the game. This made it clear to Respawn that something had to be changed, so the decision was to go back to what came before, at least for now. I actually predicted the Season 17 changes to rank.
I will give it to Respawn. They are literally trying to figure out what makes a good battle royale player a good battle royale player. It is, I would say that's a very daunting task, because you look at Warzone, and I think what Warzone has like a ranked thing now, a ranked mode. Um, Apex has a ranked mode, and I think Fortnite has a ranked mode. I would actually, this would be so cool, to me if, but they would this it would never happen. I would love to see what each company thinks makes a good top level player in each respective battle royale, because it's a battle royale. It's a very enigmatic type of shooting game. You could just like pop in and play it. You loot stuff, get better guns, get better this, that, whatever. But it's hard to really pinpoint what you as an individual player are doing good at and what you are doing bad at. Because if you contrast that against, let's say, like an arena shooter, okay, or any type of a objective based shooting game, it's a little easier to do like a VOD review and pinpoint, oh, would you do good, would you do bad, so on and so forth. Did you just miss aim? Did you was your crosshair placement off? I would say, like trying to be a professional in a battle royale game is probably like insanely hard. I cannot stress that enough, because you have to juggle so many things. You have to juggle abilities, timings, guns, resources. It's insane.
About half a year before they happened. Though the season 13 through 16 ranked system has been quite popular among the most competitive players in the game, the data makes it clear that it is not popular with the vast majority of the player base.
Yeah. And you have two styles, or not two styles, but two audiences to appeal to. You have your hardcore audience, which is the no-lifers. They play every day like it's their job. And then you have literally everybody else. And my argument would be that shooting games are inherently competitive. They just are. Why? I mean, because essentially you're taking the most simplest act of taking your crosshair, putting it on someone, and just, shooting them, deleting their health, and you're eliminating them from the match. That's like the basic version of it. And this is the same thing across like many shooters. And okay, I'm just like going off like every which way in my head, but let's just keep going. But I mean, the crux of it was like, you have your hardcore audience, which is like way over here and is like a very tiny percentage of players that play ranked. And you have literally everybody else, which is over here. So who do you make your matchmaking system for? Do you make it for these people, or do you make it for these people? It's hard to say when you have to include everybody. Where did diamonds go? LOL.
And the fact that the distribution of data looks so haphazard and doesn't resemble a normal distribution leads us to...
Well, everybody being in Rookie 4, these are people that just are simply not logging in and playing. So, from the perspective of Respawn, this is an issue.
To believe that the system is also failing to accurately distribute players based on skill. A lot of the changes made in Season 17 were intended...
So, okay, let me go back. What do you say? Many players never even touched ranked. Okay, so if you have a large amount of people playing ranked, then it would stand to reason that if you eliminate like this bar, this is like a relatively normal, like standard, like skill curve or whatever. Most of the people, I mean, seemingly, what do you have? Like bronze, silver, gold, which is like the first three ranks, and then plat, diamond, master, red. You got like a good chunk of people here, and like about gold and plat are where most people are at that play ranked, which is seemingly normal, outside this bar. So
based on skill. A lot of the changes made in Season 17 were intended to address those issues, but too many changes implemented at once, as well as poor implementation of a few key changes, led to a bit of a disaster for ranked. But as I've watched these issues unfold over the past year, I've been thinking about what could be done to improve the ranked experience, and something I've always wondered was, why don't we make ranked play resemble professional play?
Oh,
why not have...
That is a good idea, because essentially, if you look at like any real sport, when you see casual basketball, casual baseball, casual football, and you see people just playing this shit at the park or whatever, it looks almost like the same as professional level. The skill is obviously not there, but the rules are essentially the same. Yes, there's probably going to be a little bit like a difference here and there, but whatever. But for the most part, it's about the same rule set.
an ALGS style ranked system. When Season 13 came out, everyone, competitive and casual players alike, praised it in the first few weeks because final rings were packed with teams vying for placement, playing to.
I remember when this season came out. This was a very different type of season, and it was like playing a new game. You know, and I did my normal thing of just trying to solo queue my way there. What was the main issue for like season 13? They were like, what was it, like too many rats or whatever? And was this when Seer was popular? I don't remember. I forgot what the meta was at season 13. It was probably like Bloodhound or Seer or something. I don't remember. But the main issue with that type of what do you call it, style of ranked was that there were too many rats making it into the final ring, and I think Respawn didn't want like a bunch of like just solo players like at the end of the ring. You see like 10 teams, but like let's say you have the high ground, you're looking around, you don't see anybody because they're all like hiding in their own little crevasse.
To the best of their abilities, and it gave people a taste of the controlled chaos that we see in professional Apex play. So why not style a ranked system based on that competitive environment? Sup, y'all?
I mean, why not? And then there's also the issue of solo queue people versus 3-stack people. I mean, that's another issue in and of itself, but I mean, whatever. I mean, even as a solo queue player, I had relatively fun, like playing the game because I understood like what needed to happen, and I would really have to go back and try to figure out what my thought process was trying to like, just whenever you try to like communicate to your teammates in season 13, it's like, okay, we looted up, let's maybe hit like a ring console or something and then try to guess where like the end game is gonna end or whatever. But more often than not, I think players, a lot of the time, players just did not want to go and just wait around in the end ring. It's just not fun playing like waiting simulator for like 5 minutes for like the final round or even like ring 3. Players just got too bored or whatever. They didn't want to like bunker down, get like a god spot or whatever. They just wanted to fight on edge constantly. So it's kind of hard because, if I'm a solo player and I can I could reasonably guess where the end game was going to be. And I'm like, okay, I ping here. Let's go here, guys. But maybe the other two is like, they're either like a duo or maybe they're like a solo queue, like 2 other solo queues, and they just disagree with the call. It's like, okay, what do I do? Do I go with my team and stick with my team and fight on edge and do all this like running around and just get kills and shit, or do I just solo go off towards the end ring, and like try to hold down some area myself? So it's very annoying when not everybody is on the same page.
Y'all, my name's Wheaties. I love analyzing Apex Legends, and without further ado, let's look at what an ALGS style ranked system could look like. Before we get into the details of scoring and how people will rank up in the system, let's establish some goals. Number 1, when all is said and done, we want the distribution of ranked players to resemble a normal distribution, otherwise known as a bell curve. The reason we want this is because when it comes to any skill-based occupation with measurable outcomes, we find that normal distributions show up naturally, meaning that if we knew exactly how to accurately measure the skill level of every Apex player and rank them based on that data when grouped together would naturally appear as a bell curve. This is
well, yeah, but I don't think Respawn knows how to correctly identify the good skills and the bad skills of an Apex player. Like, did you use your ability and it affected somebody else in a good way or a bad way? Or let's say you used a Horizon queue and you just queued up onto like something you normally would not have been able to get up onto. How does the matchmaking system take that into account, where you use your ability to help your team in a, let's say, an indirect way, whereas if you contrast that against something like Lifeline, where it's like she throws her Q down and it's obviously like healing everybody, and it's like you can put numbers to like all that shit. Like, how do you do that? as a developer.
This is true for athletics, education, even crime, if you believe it. Ironically, this was achieved in Season 18, but it was done using the factor of time played rather than skill, meaning if you didn't have the time to achieve a higher rank, then it was nearly impossible. Number 2, we want a player's rank to be an accurate representation of their skill and to be an accurate way to employ skill-based matchmaking. So if 2 players are hard stuck plat 4, then we expect them to be roughly equal in skill. Seasons 18 and 19 proved that Respawn is capable of accurately matching players based on their skill level using MMR. Perhaps not perfectly, but I, as a consistent diamond level player who only had time to play to gold these past seasons, was still being matched with current diamond players of my skill level.
Yep.
So from my personal experience, I know that the system can match me with other people of my skill level. But as one of our goals, we want our visible rank to be capable of matching players based on skill, rather than the hidden MMR we've seen in the past and which is used in public matchmaking.
So I don't know. That's a whole nother topic for a video. Like, you have your hidden MMR versus your visible MMR. Should that be something to take into consideration? I mean, when it comes to like trying to break down like skills and ranks in a BR, I think it's easy to determine like the performance of like low skill players, and it's likewise very easy to identify like what like a very high skilled player is. The difficult part is trying to figure out that like gigantic chunk of, I don't know, 70 to 80% of players in the center. It's really hard to figure out what is like a high level skill or high level play in aim, or like ability usage, heal usage, resources. Is that like a metric that you could use, like how fast you looted a what do you call it, like a death box? Could that be a thing that Respawn could take into account? How fast you did like an armor swap, or how many armor swaps you did? What about if you go down? Did you skillfully use your knockdown shield to block a good amount of damage, or did you block a grenade? There's just, I think it's too daunting of a task for Respawn to figure out like what is like considered like high skill and low skill, for at least for all the individual characters.
This should mean that players who are Masters level but haven't played in a year should breeze through to Diamond, where after shaking off the rust, they should be able to acquire Masters again. To be clear, the current system is matching players based on their rank, so this shouldn't be difficult to achieve. The problem is that the current ranks aren't a great representation of skill, as evidenced by this haphazard data distribution. This is part of the reason why people feel like solo queuing is so tough this season. Plat 4 has a higher percentage of the population here in Split 1 than any other rank, and they're getting placed in the same lobbies as gold players and Plat 1 players, but there's a huge skill gap between a hard stuck gold and a Plat 4 player, and an even bigger skill gap between a Plat 1 player and a hard stuck Plat 4, yet the system continues to match them together. And number 3, in each lobby we want the net gain of RP to be 0. In any given ranked lobby, there is a maximum number of points available to be gained. Every kill and placement point acquired by one team limits the number of points available to other teams. There will always be winners and losers. That's a given. Assuming you're not an outlier, meaning you're not either so good at the game or so bad at the game that your performance doesn't mirror a significant chunk of the population, then once the skill-based matchmaking finds your skill level and places you in those lobbies, you will win about 5% of your games, make top 5% in 20% of your games, and basically every available placement you will have a 5% chance of landing in. The problem we had in Season 17, and I made a video explaining this in more detail, but as a summary here, once you crunch the numbers, you realized that players were gaining an average number of points per game. They were playing in lobbies of their skill level, but assuming they performed completely average over the course of a gaming session, they would still be gaining hundreds of points. This is why Season 17 had so many players reach Masters, because ranking up became not a factor of your skill level, but a factor of how long you could play the game. The easy way to fix this is to make sure that the total RP gained by all players in the lobby adds up to 0 or as close to 0 as possible. Meaning that if you are performing averagely across a series of games, your RP gains will stagnate and you won't go up or down, landing perfectly in your skill bracket. Now that we've established some goals, let's break down what gaining points in an ALGS series looks like. So how do you gain points in pro play? To answer that question, let's put ourselves in a pro lobby, good old-fashioned 6-game series. We'll squad up with Team Breakfast Club.
Team Breakfast Club. Yeah, like performing averagely versus performing above averagely and below average. I mean, again, the question, or at least the what would I say? The abstract question of what is average skill and what is high skill and what's low skill. That question is still like unanswered essentially because there are so many things to do in Apex that you can do skillfully or I mean, if you play on M&K, I mean, you can tap strafe, wall bounce, and do a bunch of other movement shits. Like, should that be taken into account? Or versus like if you're on controller, like, and you don't have those things available to you, like, should that be taken into account or no? I mean, who's to say?
And we'll see how we do. So first things first, how do you score points in tournament play? Here's how placement points work in ALGS. If you place 20th through 16th, you get nothing. That sucks, but the game's about survival and we didn't survive, so better luck next time, I guess. For 11th through 15th, you get 1 point. That's not much, but we're definitely moving up in the world. 8th through 10th place gets 2 points, and 6th through 7th gets 3 points. Now, we've broken into the top 10, but we're still not making crazy gains. In fact, you'll see later on that through placement alone, we're not even making an average number of points yet, but more on that later. 5th place nets us 4 points, 4th nets us 5 points, and in the top 3 is where we really start to make gains. 3rd gets us 7, 2nd gets us 9, and 1st place nets us a whopping 12 points. That's 4 times as much as the 6th place team, which doesn't seem like a huge difference to some, but for the 6th place team to make up that difference, they'd have to kill an additional 9 players. And I don't know about you, but any game where my team gets 9 kills is a pretty solid game for me.
Yeah.
Now, if we do a little math and add up all the available placement points in a lobby, we find that each lobby is distributing 54 points between all 20 of these teams.
Okay.
Well, really, it's just the top 15 teams getting points, but you get the idea. Divide that by 20, and we see that assuming all these teams are equally skilled, they're averaging 2.7 points per game through just placement. That's not a lot, is it? Well, surely it'll look different.
I don't know. I don't think the actual point value matters. You could slap on whatever point value. I mean, heck, move the decimal place over and add like a couple zeros and just to make the number more flashy. And this number the number itself doesn't actually matter. So, but like the number 2.7 is the average of like all the placement points, which is fine.
Once we start adding in kills. In tournament play, you get 1 point for every kill. Simple enough. There's 60 people to kill in the lobby, and at least one of those teams is going to stay alive till the end.
Right.
Actually, at least one of the players is going to stay alive till the end.
Yeah.
Possibly all 3 on a team. So we could be looking at 57 kills or as many as 59 points available through kills. That's not counting respawned players, which doesn't happen often in pro play, and it's also not counting players that die to ring, which happens somehow, even though these guys are supposed to be really good at the game. It's also not counting players that get downed by a squad.
Oh my god, shots fired. Dang, dude.
Then dies before they're able to thirst their kill. Those points just disappear entirely. They're no longer attributed to any teams. We're starting to see that it's not possible for every lobby to average the same number of players dying every game, so for the sake of our mental experiment, we'll have to just decide on an average number of kills available in every lobby. Let's say that there's 57 kill points available in every lobby, because the most consistent case is that one full team survives until the end game, and maybe 1 or 2 players get respawned in a game. So let's assume that there's 57 kill points available in every lobby. If that's the case, then assuming these teams are evenly skilled on average, then each team is averaging 2.85 points with kills per game. That's almost a full squad wipe, but not quite. And we would expect that average to be less than 3 because of the fact that there will always be 1 squad left alive at the end of the game. Once you add that up, that's 111 points available for distribution in every lobby, for an average of 5.5 points per game. At the end of the series, you're looking at an average of 33.3 points per team. Now, if we look at any day in any split...
Wait. So, because like the current rank system just is like a game-by-game basis, would you want the same 60 people to dedicate like 6 games in a row to do like a series? I mean, that's like multiple hours, and I don't know, that literally, if you want them to do a series of games, that's fine for like the hardcore player base, but like the casual player base, they probably couldn't do that because it's such a huge chunk of time to like dedicate into like doing what, like 6 games. I mean, how long how long is like an average match? If from like dropship to what do you call it, or like from character select to like like the victory screen at the end. What, like half an hour, more or less? What, or like somewhere between like 20 and 30 minutes. So you would have to literally just block out, what do you call it? Like anywhere from like 2 to 3 hours just to play like a series in like Apex Legends ranked mode. I mean, which isn't, it's not like that much time, but it's like, it's not nothing. If you do want to like have like the same 60 people in a 6-game series. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know if that'd be like good or bad. I just don't know.
We see that we never actually make it to 33.3. Back in Split 2 of ALGS Year 3, on Day 5 in North America, Group A versus Group C, the average points per team was 32.95. Day 3 of the same split was 33.15. Day 8 was 33.05. This can be accounted for with what we said earlier about the variation of points available via kills. I'm sure if we looked for long enough, we'd find an average exceeding 33.3 points, because we'd inevitably find a day in a region where players were respawned more often than usual, and thus more kill points were available. This is especially likely nowadays, since it's becoming more common for players to be respawned, but normally the average should be below 33.3. And we're close enough to where we can assume this is accurate enough for our mental experiment here.
Yeah, that's
now
fine.
that we've crunched numbers, I want to point out two things. Number one, we're making almost identical point gains through placement and kills. It is slightly in favor of kills, but not enough to say that teams should be favoring fighting over placement, especially since placement often leads to kills anyways.
Right.
So in our new ranked system, we expect players to gain about the same amount of RP from placement as they are kills. I know some people are going to say, but the game's about survival, but survival in a battle royale means making other teams dead, so we're saying the same thing, guys.
Yeah.
Number two, there's no scaling point gains like what we currently see in ranked. You don't get extra credit for placing higher with more kills. Oftentimes the two are correlated. The teams with more kills do tend to place higher and gain more points.
Fair.
But right off the bat, this current ranked system is a far cry from a true representation of professional play. Even if it does lead to some pretty cool competitive moments, it's still not what pro play would look like. So again, in pro play, teams are gaining an average of 5.5 points per game out of the 111 points.
I mean, if ranked is at all similar to like when I last played, people literally do not give a shit about just aping another team. They don't care about if like there's like, let's say there's like 3 teams, and let's say one team doesn't know that another team is like kind of close by and could third. Like if this team gets a crack on this team or something, or they get a down or whatever, this team is 100% aping that other team, regardless of how close this other team is that could potentially just third party it. Like in professional play, they would be like a little more hesitant to like push that other team, but in ranked, it's like a literal 100%. Oh, I got a crack, I got a down, fucking unload all your nades, all your abilities, go. That's literally what it is, and that's pretty much what I see for the most part whenever I like, see like some people playing or whatever.
Points available in any given match. Now remember, goal number 3 is that we wanted the average RP gained in a lobby to be 0. We can achieve that by making all teams forfeit that 5.55 point average as an entry cost before the game starts. Think of it like a cash pot where every player is putting in some money for the chance of winning part of the total prize. This also means that if you perform at the average, you'll get those points back. If you do better, you'll gain points, and if you do worse, you'll lose points. Simple, right? Well, not quite. There's a few new questions we need to ask now. In pro play, it doesn't matter if you're carrying or getting carried. Everybody on the team gains the same number of points. Do we want that to be the case for ranked as well? So instead of breaking things down by how many kills you participate in, should we just give everybody on the team the same credit, regardless of whether or not they even shoot their guns? I would argue that yes, it's best that we do. It may feel bad in the short term when your random teammate with 20 damage gains the same amount of RP as you with 2,000 damage and 9 kills, but the reality is that over time, this system should filter out those players, and those players won't rank up as fast as you if they're not as good as you.
That is actually a fair point. I will give him credit for that point. That's a good point.
Odd carry here and there may suck, but that happens even at the top lobbies as it is. Like, pick your favorite random streamer and...
To imply that there is sort of this sort of hierarchy even amongst the top pro players is hearsay. Oh, that's funny.
Watch enough of their games, you will see them carry players that are
Yeah.
just as good as them in their lobbies. So the odd carry here and there is going to happen, but as we rank up in this system, it should happen less frequently as we find our true placement. The next
Hmm.
question we have is, since it's not teams that are putting up their points, but rather individual players, should we scale this number up a bit? I'd say we should, if not for the simple reason that we would like some nice round numbers, rather than 5.55 as our entry cost, and here's how I do it. Our average of 5.55 points is simply 1 out of 20 of the 111 total points available, so we
Oh yeah, and you could just like you could even literally just keep this number as RP and just add a decimal to RP, even to like the thousandths, like tens, thousandths, or hundredths place. And instead of like 100,000 RP gained at like the end of a season, it would only be like, I don't know, what, a couple hundred or whatever. I think that's fine. Again, the actual total number of RP does not matter to me. What matters is like having a more competitive what do you call it? Competitive integrity um effect of, the matchmaking system. I don't care like the amount of points. Like, oh my god, at the end of the season I had over 100,000 RP. Now I only have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, what is this? Like, can you stop and just zoom out for a sec?
need to maintain that ratio of the total points as the entry cost. Our 57 points out of 111 points from kills can also be represented as 19 over 37 of the total, and points from placement can be represented as 18 over 37. And we need to maintain that ratio of how points are made available to teams. Our common denominator here is 740, meaning that our average points gained can also be described as 37 out of 740, with 360 out of 740 of the total points coming from placement, and the remaining 380 out of 740 coming from kills. So if we set the entry cost at 37 points, we'll have a lobby with 740 points total available, with each kill being worth 6 2/3. I don't like fractions, so let's multiply everything by 3 and get rid of that fraction. That means we're gaining 20 points per kill, our total available points will be 2,220, and our entry cost will be 111. For placement, it'll work out as follows. 20th through 16th, you still get 0 points. 15th through 11th, 20 points for a total of 100 points available in these ranks. 10th through 8th, 40 points each for a total of 120. 7th and 6th, 60 points for a total of 120. 5th, 80 points. 4th place, 100 points. 3rd place, 140 points. 2nd, 180 points. And 1st, 240, for a total of 1,080 points distributed through placement. The entry cost will remain flat across all ranks. You also won't receive extra points for killing higher ranked players, since you should be playing players of your same rank anyways. Your points from kills won't scale based on placement. You'll just get these flat rates from kills and placement. As you can see, in order to rank up solely on placement, you'd need to make it to 3rd place. This lines up with what we see in pro play, as 3rd place is the first placement where the gains exceed the average points gained per team. Again, though, very few teams will make it that far without picking up a little KP. In order to make gains through kills alone, you need to kill at least 6 players, which means you can wipe 2 squads off drop, get 4th partied, die in 14th place, and still not get that many points. But you do start to see benefits as early as 15th place, so it's really not that bad. And it's kind of already the case, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue for most players. And as we mentioned before, assuming the matchmaking does its job correctly on average, this system will lead to a normal distribution where your Masters lobbies are truly filled with people who have mastered the game, and your Bronze and Rookie lobbies are filled with people who are new to the game.
What about queue time? People are playing this game constantly. It's going to be hard to match up predators against other predators. I mean, at least on PC, and probably like really hard for like other consoles too. Xbox, PlayStation, and what is it? The Wii? Not the Wii. The Wii U? That does exist. That would have to take you'd have to take queue time into account, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, everybody wants to have a quick match. Like, either, if you're like a low skill, average skill, or a high skill, you just want to have like a quick queue time. You just want to keep going and going and going. But you don't want either your average players and your high rank players, like, these people do not want to like go together or like be in the same lobby together. One, because like a high skill player does not want to kill like a low skill player because it's like it's whatever. It's not like difficult. It's I don't know. I'd argue it's like not even fun really. Um, Likewise, you don't want to have like a low skill or an average skill player going up to like against a high skill player. So, I mean, this all has to do with like queue times or ping in all that stuff. So, I mean, that would have to be taken into account. But understandably, this is like in an ideal situation,
Mostly new to shooters in general.
provided that Respawn actually upgrades their hamsters on a wheel servers.
And are still learning the mechanics. Okay, well that's what ranked would look like if it was based off of ALGS. Now, the question is, why doesn't Respawn implement the system? It wasn't that hard to calculate. I'm pretty sure they've thought of this sort of thing before, so why not do it? Well, there's a few more questions outside of the ranked system that we would have to ask when we're considering something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first question is, how long should it take to get to a certain rank? We shouldn't just be placing players in the rank we think they deserve right off the bat, because number one, what would there be to grind for? And number two, how confident can we be that we are actually putting them in the right rank? Time played still needs to be a factor. We already know that when Respawn calculates their ranked statistics, they remove people who haven't played a certain number of hours. I think it's like people who have played less than 2 hours in a season or less than 4 hours in a season get removed from the distribution, and that usually cleans up the data and makes it more representative of the true ranked population. I imagine the best way to handle this would be to take the median average number of games played by ranked players and use that as a gauge. So, for example, if the average ranked player plays 100 games in a season, then it should take them 100 games to make it to their true rank. If they reach it faster than that, then that means they've improved and they can try to push for higher. 100 games is just a placeholder number, by the way. I don't know how long it takes the average player to reach their rank. Would love to know your thoughts on that. How long does it take you to reach your average rank? Second, we have to consider queue times. It's kind of funny watching Preds play games on their
yeah, and again, this is going to be different from like a solo queue player versus like a 3-stack or a duo even. So, yeah.
second monitor as they wait 20 minutes to get into a game, but it gets pretty old after the first week. We have to accept that in order to make queue times reasonable for the extremely high-skilled players, and also the extremely low-skilled players who have just as few people to match with in their ranks as Preds do, assuming we achieve a normal distribution, some of us are going to get wrecked by Preds while we're in Plat and Diamond. This is not a failure of the system, it's just an inevitable outcome when you're trying to keep...
This may be a hot take, or maybe it's just a warm take, or a cold take at all, whatever. I don't think Masters players mind going against Predators. People mind more about going up against obvious 3-stacks versus solo queue players. I think that's the bigger thing that people give a shit about, because when you obviously have an advantage when you're in a 3-stack, you know, you're in Discord. I mean, yes, the game provides like in-game things and whatever. Apex is known to have like the best ping system and whatnot, but I mean, let's not beat around the bush. You know, communicating with your voice is gonna be way quicker, and what you want to have your other teammates do, like it's gonna like using your voice is gonna be way better, regardless how good the ping system is. So it's a huge, massive advantage.
A very small portion of the population playing the game.
Versus, what's the opposite of that? Of like 3-stacking in Discord. What's the opposite? So you're solo queue, you're using in-game voice. Maybe the guy has a mic, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does have a headset on, maybe he doesn't. Is he having a good day? Is he having a bad day? I don't know. Like, did he lose his last like 5 matches? And he's like in a mood, and the moment you like try to establish yourself as like a makeshift IGL on the fly, it's like, okay, let's do this. And well, you know, who made you the IGL? You know, like, I don't agree with you. I'm gonna go this way. You know, this is a real issue. As funny as it is, it's an issue.
Once you start doing that, though, you have to sometimes relax the matchmaking to allow a larger pool of players into a lobby. And we then have to ask, how does that affect the distribution? Maybe if it only happens every now and then, it's fine. But it's possible that if it happens too much, or even at all, that we could mess the whole thing up. Third, possibly the most important question, does this still work if people stop playing ranked? See, part of the problem Respawn faces when balancing their ranked system is the fact that a lot of people will hit their goal and stop playing. If you go on ApexLegendsStatus.com right now and look at the ranked distribution from Season 9 up through Season 16, pick a random split, you'll likely notice that the first tier in any given rank is usually the largest. Now, this is partly because there's a jump in difficulty once you reach a new rank. Using myself as an example, I'm in Diamond 4 right now, and I've made it there under this current system several times. But there's a pretty big jump in difficulty from Platinum to Diamond, and I haven't spent enough time in Diamond or improved enough at the game to make it further than Diamond 3, even though I'm almost guaranteed to make it to Diamond every season that I play. The other factor, of course, is that I, as a Diamond 4 player, receive the same badge as a Diamond 2 player. That player is in all likelihood better at the game than me, but we're receiving the same rewards in the end. So if he's better than me, but not quite good enough to reach Masters, and he knows that, then why bother playing that far? Why not just hit Diamond 4 with me and then go pub stomping with his friends for the rest of the season? Now, other games address this issue by introducing rank decay. If you don't play consistently enough, your ranked points start dropping and you lose your rank. This encourages people to stay engaged even after they've reached their maximum rank. If you've grinded ranked for enough seasons, you've heard the advice to avoid ranked for the first few weeks until the sweats make it out of gold. You've also probably heard that it's easiest to rank up in the last few weeks of a split because most of the sweats have hit their desired ranks and
because like no one's playing really.
They've stopped playing. Now, obviously, if the best players are not engaging with the system consistently, then the system may not be able to accurately match players based on skill. But introducing rank decay could upset a bunch of players, even if done correctly, and we certainly don't want to turn Apex into a full-time job, so this would require some...
I mean, regardless of whether or not you turn it into a full-time job or not, people are already taking it seriously, as if it were a full-time job, so I don't think that's a good point. The people that are already at the tippy top will most likely stay at the tippy top. I don't know. The whole like rank decay thing, I do get it, and it does seem like super shitty. I just don't know like a better solution, really. I mean, rank decay is one thing that you can do to get players to, I don't know, keep playing throughout the entirety of a season, but I don't know. I just don't see, I haven't really seen any better options besides rank decay.
Pretty careful attention and calibration to make it work. Fourth question, how do we handle solo queue players versus duos and trios? The gameplay you're watching here is from a stream where Alex the Lion and I duo queued and eventually 3-stacked through most of Plat. His Twitch is in the description, by the way. Go give him a follow. He's really great. After this stream, I played several sessions of solo queue games on a couple different days, and the difference in gameplay is night and day.
It's night and day.
It was so much easier to rank up with someone that's at my skill level, whose playstyle I'm already familiar with. But not everyone can play with friends all the time. Like, I can't play with friends all the time. So how do you address that? Do we create separate queues where people can play solo, duos, or trios?
Yeah, because if you separate the queues into solo, solo duo and 3-stack, you automatically increase the queue time for both parties, or for both groups, and neither group wants to have longer queue times. So I don't know. That's just and then you gotta think like, what would you want to do? Would you want to just lump everybody together, which is like what is currently happening? And that's like an issue. Or do you take the chance and separate it? And I mean, I don't know.
Honestly, I kind of think so. In an ideal world, why wouldn't we have 3 separate ranked queues? I know the developers are worried about queue times being too...
That would be cool. I mean, look at... what was it? I forgot what Halo did it. Was it one? It was Halo 2 or 3. They had a bunch of different ranked modes for like each different type of mode. I forgot who. It was like a really well thought out comment that I had in one of my videos. There were, it was Halo 2 or 3 had like 7 or 8, maybe 9 plus different ranked modes that people engaged in, and at the time, I don't remember, I don't really remember like what I did personally back in the day, because I did play Halo 1, 2, and 3. I don't know how active each ranked queue was. Like, I I mean, you could easily have like a ranked duos, not like duo trios, but just like duos, ranked like solo trios queue, and then have like a ranked the 3-stack trios, and those are your three modes or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Would it be that tough? I don't know. I mean, but to this day, I don't think Respawn has ever done anything like that, really. So, I mean, fuck it. Just try it for a season. If it don't work, it don't work. And at least you can say you tried it.
Too long, and maybe this would create some issues. I don't know because I don't have access to that data, but
Yeah.
assuming we did have enough players to make it work, this would give people the opportunity to rank up in 3 different systems. And
Yeah.
would also allow solo queue players to just play with other solo queue players. As we said, it's hard for solo players to rank up against trios, and we know from Respawn's own data that over 70% of people that play this game play it with at least one other person.
Yeah.
So solo queue players are at a pretty significant disadvantage. We also know that Respawn has been trying to match solos and duos with each other more often and match trios against other trios. So maybe making improvements on that matchmaking is all that's really needed, but
I mean, that's good. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but I mean, you push like far enough into like the rankings, then you cannot help but run into 3 stacks. It is what it is.
I would still love to grind some more ranked systems personally. I miss doing that when arenas was a thing. That was awesome. I loved having 2 different ranks. It was fun. And the final
Yeah, but the whole thing with arena was you couldn't detect or you couldn't report people that cheated in arenas. I mean, regardless.
question, is this actually what players want? Because in the end, it doesn't really matter if we rank people based on their skill if nobody's having fun. It's just fun to grind things in a lot of cases, which is why people like the prestige system, which is why people like leveling up. It seems to me that most players aren't enjoying the current system, which I think is why Respawn changed it in the first place, because I think they reached that same conclusion based on the data. But that doesn't mean my idea is any better than what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
The only way to find out is to share your opinion. Would you like to try this ranked system? Let me know down in the comments, and please keep it respectful.
Yeah, I mean, if they implemented at least the solo duo trio thing, I might come back. I mean, it couldn't hurt.
Of course, and remember that everybody's going to have a different opinion about this. None of us really know how this would work, so respect everyone's opinions. Some people want to shine as an individual player, and they like the fact that they get more points for actually participating in kills than people that don't participate in them. Some people think it should just be about winning. Some people think it should just be about placement, and that kills really shouldn't be that important when it comes to factoring in your RP. All opinions are welcome. Please feel free to share them. Please be respectful of other people's opinions. Feel free to share this on social medias and Reddit and such. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the comments.
Nice. That was a good ass video. I don't know. I'd have to, and like, I'm a fan. Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, it's just up to Respawn to really figure out how to implement it. Essentially, but no, I like the idea. I like the whole video. I mean, maybe more likely the issue is a little more complicated than like what we see on the surface level. But I mean, it's a step in the right direction in that we can at least talk about it. I mean, because anytime I hear like a developer say anything about the lifespan of Apex, they always say, "Oh, we want this game to still be played, 10, 20 years from now." And, there are certain things that, you take into consideration of, is this a problem that will affect the long term? Is this a problem that will affect the short term? And I don't know. But I mean, it's an interesting topic. I like it. And yeah, I want to see more. But that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. Later.